And I'd like to thank the American Legion Post 208, Merle Guild Post 208 of the American Legion. They always welcome us into their home. They're strong supporters of not only the military but also the police and fire departments. They never ask anything from us, and they're always welcome us here. That being said, I'd also like to remind people it's Christmas time. We're in the American Legion. Please remember the service members that are serving overseas and protecting our freedoms. I'd like to quote George Orwell, as he once said, "People sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf." Some of those recent additions to those rough men are Michael Kearney Jr., who's shipping out to Marine Corps boot camp, and Mitch Bland, who was shipping out overseas with the Marine Corps to Europe with the Navy. So keep them in your prayers and thoughts, please, this Christmas time. A week from today, we join our families at Christmas. We celebrate the birth and the life of Christ. We're all gathered here tonight, this family, also to celebrate life. Not only to celebrate a life of Mike, but to honor those who fought so hard to preserve that life. This family is a mix of police officers, firefighters, family, civilian attendees. The police, we know our perspective of what happened that night, and the fire department knows their perspective. And some people in this room may not have any perspective of what happened that night. So I'm going to take a few moments and recall the events that night. Please understand, I do not do this with the intention of opening an old wound, but rather to reapply a dressing on a wound which may still be healing for some of us. And please understand, this is my account of the events that happened. Portions of my account were previously documented in official police and fire reports. Some of it comes from intimate personal interviews with officers during the internal investigation. Some of it comes from conversations with the firefighters, and yet some of it comes from candid conversations and passing in the hallway and lunch breaks with officers throughout the days that followed. Like any major event in history, the assassination attempt of President Ronald Reagan, the Challenger and Discovery disasters, September 11th, and the night justice was swiftly served to Osama bin Laden. We all remember exactly where we were and what we were doing on December 12th of 2013. December 12th, 2013 was one of the darkest nights in the Arlington Heights Police Department. The night was just as dark as the times when we lost officers Fred Korber, Herman Garr, Al Vargo, Christian Saladino, and Ed Dillon. And nearly lost the lives of officers Joe Mariano, Chuck TJ, and Tim Sheehan. However, from within the bowels of that darkness arose a police department's brightest moment. For in a time span of only 13 seconds, heroes emerged from our midst, and a life that was nearly lost was saved. At 18:45 hours on December 12, 2013, officers responded to 1917 Wyndham Court for a report of a man with a gun. One officer, departing from the station with a second officer, for reasons still unknown to him and unexplainable, had the foresight and thought to think, I think we need to start an ambulance that way. I don't think this is going to end up good. That critical couple seconds of time for the dispatch of the fire department allowed a critical moment and additional seconds for the response of those firefighters. Arlington Heights Fire Department Ambulance 2, occupied by firefighter paramedics Mark Harris and Bill Casper. Squad 2, occupied by firefighters Lieutenant Dave Roberts and Joe Forde. And Engine 2, occupied by Lieutenant Will Rodgers, firefighter engineer John Simon, and firefighter Scott Limbers were dispatched to the scene. Battalion Chief Bill Kidd responded as incident command. Firefighters Greg Wickerack and Bill Yowell were at Station 4, heard the initial dispatch, and they also thought, I think they're going to need some help. They dispatched themselves to the call on their own volition. By the time that Central actually dispatched them, they were already on scene and in place ready for action. Officer Mike McEvoy was first on scene and arrived to the sound of gunfire and women screaming. Realizing he was facing an active shooter and lives were in imminent danger, Mike entered the home, removed 2 women from to safety, and re-entered the home to try and retrieve a 3rd woman that was still in danger. Upon re-entering the home, Mike was immediately shot in the neck and collapsed to the ground, where he lay for 13 seconds. Officer McEvoy, Mike McEvoy, needed and held on to each and every one of those seconds. He may not have been able to spare one more. But although Mike might not have been able to spare one more second, someone else needed each and every one of those very seconds. Those were Officers Kevin Sullivan, Mike Toronto, and Doug Glanz. For within those 13 seconds, while Mike lay waiting for help, the suspect took his hostage, retreated to the basement, and barricaded himself, thus affording Officers Kevin Sullivan and Mike Toronto the opportunity to enter the home and extract Mike. They removed Mike from the home into the garage, where Doug Glanz was standing by, ready to provide protective cover. Sullivan and Toronto proceeded to drag Mike down the driveway of the home and out into the street, all the time under the protective cover of Doug Glanz. The 3 acted as a team, moving Mike down into the street. They acted as brothers. Once in the street, then Deputy Chief Ken Keppen, visiting nearby, heard the commotion and came outside to see what was going on. He joined them on scene, provided additional first aid support and advice. Meanwhile, Ambulance 2, Squad 2, Engine 2, and Ambulance 4 arrived on the scene. While proceeding in the vicinity and towards Wyndham Court, they passed numerous officers who advised them that, to the best of their knowledge, the scene was relatively safe, but they did not know the location of the gunman. The location of the shooter was not known. Did he flee through the open back door? Did he flee through a window? Was he in the neighborhood? Was he lying in ambush in the yard? Did he take a position in the front of the house, which would afford him a second assault on responding officers? Irregardless, Firefighter Bill Casper drove Ambulance 2 straight down Wyndham Court to where Mike lay in the street. Straight down Lancaster Court, into the hot zone, the red zone, the kill zone. Bill Casper and Mark Harris exited Ambulance 2 and were quickly joined by firefighters Joe Forde, Lieutenant Dave Roberts, Lieutenant Will Rodgers, Firefighter Greg Wickerack, Firefighter Bill Yowell, and Battalion Chief Bill Kidd. Not only was the situation still dangerous, it was extremely dire. Mike was reported as not breathing and without a pulse. One firefighter said he was dead on the street, and yet another said he was dead as any dead man I've seen. This did not deter the fire crew, and Mike was immediately loaded into the back of Ambulance 2 and immediately attended to. Mark Harris began ventilation and applying direct pressure on the wound. Bill Casper began suctioning Mike's airway and proceeded to drill Mike's leg to start fluids. He then began CPR. Dave Roberts, working with a massively injured airway, was able to suction Mike's nasal passage and successfully establish an airway through his nasal passage rather than down the throat. Meanwhile, Greg Wickerack began establishing an IV, and Bill Yowell scrambled, setting up life-saving equipment, distributing IV supplies, and medical supplies. Joe Forde, John Simon, and Will Rodgers all joined in the fray, while Bill Kidd directed efforts. Scott Limbers, initially assigned to Engine 2, jumped into the front seat of Ambulance 2. In moments, Ambulance 2 departed to Lutheran General Hospital. Battalion Chief Bill Kidd reported to Police Command the situation was grim. Mike had lost tremendous amounts of blood. He was in need of fluids to restore the pressure in his arteries and in need of CPR to assist the heart with pumping and providing oxygen. Still undeterred, Mark Harris, Bill Casper, Dave Roberts, Greg Wickerack, Bill Yowell continued on, performing CPR, suctioning, maintaining vitals, and fighting. And while the chaos in the back of the ambulance continued, Scott Limbert continued on to steer the ambulance towards Lutheran General Hospital. Somewhere along the way it worked. The fluids they put into Mike's body restored the pressure the heart needed to pump. The CPR kept the heart working, kept oxygen flowing until a pulse was detected. It was a faint pulse, but a pulse no less. While the ambulance 2 was transporting Mike to the hospital, Battalion Chief Bill Kidd remained on scene, acting as incident command, providing command and control by summoning additional response units. Firefighters John Simon and Lieutenant Will Rodgers also remained on scene, ready to provide additional aid and immediate life-saving resources for the additional police units on scene, the NIPUS response team, and both the suspect and the hostage. Finally, after having been delayed by 2 separate trains, Ambulance 2 arrived at Lutheran General Hospital. Mike was turned over to the care and custody of the trauma response team. Ambulance 2 informed Incident Command a tide had been turned. Hope, although never lost, grew stronger. That night and throughout the nights that followed, I heard the following comments about the responding firefighters. Those guys are amazing. I've never seen them work so hard. They worked Mike until they were physically exhausted. I watched Mike die, and they brought him back. And those guys need to be recognized. Those guys need to be recognized. So tonight, we're gathered here tonight to recognize those guys. I have a certificate to read here, and Nancy Hunterizer will hand him the certificate. This is a certificate of recognition. It states the Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, hereby recognizes and honors Lieutenant Will Rodgers for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013, during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your life at risk and to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights Police Officer Mike McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented this 18th day of December, 2014. John, we're here to present this certificate of recognition, and it also reads, the Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, hereby recognizes and honors Firefighter Engineer John Simon for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013, during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights Police Officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented this 18th day of December, 2014. Thank you. The Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, hereby recognizes and honors Firefighter Scott Limbers for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013, during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights police officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented this 18th day of December, 2014. Thank you. The Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police hereby recognizes and honors firefighter paramedic Greg Wickrat for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013 during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights police officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented this 18th day of December, 2014. Metropolitan Alliance of Police hereby recognizes and honors firefighter paramedic Bill Yowell for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013 during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights police officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented this 18th day of December, 2014. The Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police hereby recognizes and honors firefighter paramedic Mark Harris for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013 during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights police officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented to you this 18th day of December, 2014. Thank you. 2013 during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and his exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights police officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented to you this 18th day of December, 2014. Certificate of recognition. The Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police hereby recognizes and honors Lieutenant Dave Roberts for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013 during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights police officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented to you December 18th, 2014. Certificate of recognition. The Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police hereby recognizes and honors Firefighter Joe Forde for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013 during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your life at risk to provide aid, your immediate response, expert life-saving knowledge, and exhaustive efforts directly saved the life of Arlington Heights police officer Michael McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented this 18th day of December, 2014. And I present to you Battalion Chief Bill Kidd. Certificate of Recognition. The Arlington Heights Patrol Officers Association, Chapter 510 of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police hereby recognizes and honors Battalion Chief Bill Kidd for your life-saving actions on December 12, 2013 during the rescue of a critically injured police officer. Let it be known to all, while placing your own life at risk to provide aid, your command, control, and direction directly contributed to the saving of the life of Arlington Heights Police Officer Mike McEvoy, number 213. For this, we shall ever be grateful. Presented this 18th day of December, 2014. We have one more item we'd like to present here tonight, and this is to the fire department in general. I'd like to thank Bill. He was instrumental in providing me access to these firefighters. We sometimes guard ourselves from critical incidents and hold things inside. We're able to communicate, and I got some very touching emails throughout this process, and I'd like to thank Bill. We recognize that we all move on in our careers. We get different station assignments, trainee assignments, and whatnot. And Greg's already retired and moved on. And throughout the careers of these firemen, they're going to move on to different locations. So we'd like to preserve December 12, 2013 in the history of the fire department. So I'm here to present a plaque to the fire department, which hopefully will be displayed in our headquarters building. It says, in honor and recognition of the firefighters and paramedics of Arlington Heights Fire Stations number 2 and number 4, whose actions and response saved the life of Arlington Heights Police Officer Mike McEvoy, number 213, on the night of December 12, 2013. And on behalf of the men and women of the Metropolitan Alliance of Police, we present this to the fire department.
Thank you very much.
Bill wants to address the crowd now, and I'm going to turn the microphone over to him.
I know it's a surprise. I hate addressing crowds. Thank you so much. This is really a great honor and very well deserving for the guys you see over here. They went in, you know, on that night, and we all go into very dangerous situations all the time. It's our job. It's what we do. I can't believe what the police officers do. I think you're crazy. We think you're crazy. You think we're crazy. It's all right. But it's not too often that the firemen are driving up to a situation where there's a potential for to be shot. As these guys drove up, no one hesitated. And they didn't hesitate because we're all family. And we love to pick on each other, and we love to tease each other and bust each other's chops. But at the end of the day, we're all family, and we all look out for each other. And this is just an example of us looking out for each other. And I can't tell you what an honor it is to work with these guys. They took a really serious situation and never lost their cool. They never hesitated. They just kept working for Mike. And we don't work on too many police officers. We've had a couple other with TJ and with Sheehan in the recent past. But these guys are so deserving of this recognition, and I'm so proud of them. They did all the work. And I just thank you on behalf of the fire department. This really means a lot to us. And it's just great to see Mike here. I can't say that enough. And to you guys, you did a great job. Thank you very much.